They're not good enough. Okay. They have to do something this offseason dramatic. If they think that they have a chance to win a title and somebody out there is available who can immediately solve one of those two woes, until otherwise, it's not good enough. I just don't think this team is a one Kuminga trade away from being right back in the Western. I think they need to do a variety of moves.
I losing to the 2000 Lakers, right? Shaq, Kobe, all of them. Like, that's the only time I could think of they made a finals, right? Am I missing another year? Did they make it in the 90s? Did I miss the finals? Joe, I'm talking to you here.
The Pacers?
Pacers.
The only one that I could think of.
Is that one, right?
Yes, is that one.
Oklahoma City. They've done it once.
I was just thinking while you were saying it.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was trying to
No, you're calibrating.
Compute, yeah.
You're good. You're a chat GPT.
Obviously, the Knicks lost.
Yes. So both those teams are up 3-1 now, Pacers and Oklahoma City. And now if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm saying, all right, I could get to that. We could beat those teams. We could have beaten them. Had Steph not gotten hurt, if I'm a Warriors fan right now, God, I would have loved our chances. Now, I wouldn't say we would have won. I'm not saying we would have beaten Oklahoma City. Hell, you had to get past Minnesota first if Steph stayed healthy. I don't even know if that's a given. But just looking at the lack of depth that now seems for, and maybe I shouldn't say that because Minnesota, because their top two star players just haven't shown up, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. But the depth that's on display for Oklahoma City compared to the likes of Minnesota, it's night and day. Same with the Pacers. They just have too much offensive firepower for the New York Knicks to handle right now.
I do not think like you think.
Okay, how are you thinking?
I don't think that the Warriors, as currently constructed, were going to beat any of these four teams.
Really?
No.
None of them?
They don't have enough shooting, period. I think the number one thing that when I watch OKC and Minnesota, they shoot better than we do. And they have waves of guys on the starting lineup and on the bench that are just deeper, better threats than us offensively. I don't think we had enough in the bag in terms of scoring. That's my personal opinion.
I hear you on that, but also and maybe this is not fair, but you go back to that game one, and Steph, prior to the injury, was looking great. He was looking awesome. And he was looking like, and again, I'm not saying even with a healthy Stephen Curry, they're this offensive juggernaut. I'm not saying that at all. But I will say, I love their chances, and they were still playing pretty good defensively at times, enough for me anyways, to say, man, if you won that series, and the way they've matched up, again, in the regular season against OKC these last few years, they had a chance.
Did you see the end of the OKC Thunder game the other day?
Yes.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is hunched over after having close to maximum rest.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about to end the season and then to begin and throughout the playoffs, maximum rest. He was hunched over, fully exhausted.
He was. This is also his first taste of true, like a deep, deep playoff run. He did get to the semifinals last year. This is the first time doing this.
I just don't think after seeing what I saw from the Warriors just to get through Houston, they would have had anything left. Even if they would have found a way to beat Minnesota, which I'm not convinced on, even at full strength. I'm not convinced after watching that. I don't know if they had an answer for Randall.
Well, that tells me then you think this team needs to make some changes this offseason.
I think everything needs to be on the table outside of Steph Curry. Everything. And I'm not saying you could find that, and I'm not saying that that's what is, plausible. But after watching, and I've watched every one of these games, Indiana versus New York, there are waves of players hitting shots on both teams. There are waves of guys.
Yes.
When I watched Minnesota versus OKC, Minnesota had way more offensive firepower than us, and that pales in comparison to what they're going up against with OKC.
All that being fair and all that being equal, I think a lot of teams right now are in the Warriors' boat that feel like they're a player or two away from being in the spot that Oklahoma City or Indiana or the Knicks or T-Wolves are in right now. I think, if I'm Cleveland, as we were just talking to Chris Rose, a big diehard Cleveland sports fan, he believed that they could have won a title this year. And it just didn't come to fruition. Maybe. They were really good, and the rest of hell, they blew out the Warriors twice. They destroyed them both times. Different iteration of the Warriors, but mind you, they were that good. They had a great season. But it ended in the second round. So you look at that. You look at the Lakers. They have Luka, and it looks like LeBron's going to opt into his contract, and they're going to keep him. Austin Reeves, I don't know. Are they going to make a big splash? They're always waiting or trying to make a big splash. Rob Pelinka, obviously. So Dallas Mavericks. Hell, they got Anthony Davis. They're probably going to get Cooper Flag, I would assume, and barring some sort of another Nico Harrison disaster class. I don't know even now how he still has a job there. It's insane. And then they're going to get Kyrie Irving back at some point next year. You'd assume they're going to be all over these trade talks. The Houston Rockets, right? They're not going to just stand pat. They're going to do something. They're going to, hell, maybe they blow it up, quote unquote, and trade Şengün and try to go get Giannis. I don't know. Giannis is going to be out. So I'm telling you right now, craziness is going to happen in this offseason. You don't believe me? Listen to Charania, ESPN, who's more tapped in than anybody when it comes to the league.
This is the most, I think, anticipation team executives have had over an offseason. I think this is going to be the craziest offseason I don't want to say all time. We just came off a trade deadline. We just came off a trade deadline. I think it was the craziest of all time. I think this offseason might be the most craziest ever. What you have right now is you have the parity in the league.
Sucks.
It's so thin right now. Like, as far as the thin line of where you can win a championship or you might be falling into the lottery. And I think the ability to go out there and improve your team and get there to championship level, I think that's on the minds of everyone around the league. So how can you elevate your team?
That was Shams Charania on Pat McAfee yesterday, sound courtesy of ESPN. He thinks it's going to be one of the craziest off seasons ever. And if I was to tell Warriors fans that this off season was going to be crazy for them, what would that entail, Joe? Let me ask you, what would your definition for this Warriors off season to be crazy? How would that fit your definition?
It would be trading Jimmy or Draymond.
That would be crazy for you.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to do it. That's why I think it would be crazy.
Okay, that's
Kuminga. I am resignated to the fact it feels like Kuminga is already gone.
Really?
Whether that's true or not. Now, keeping Kuminga would be crazy to me. Like, as in, today I expect him to be traded. Come week 1 of the regular season, if he's still on the team, I would be like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Wouldn't you?
Yes. That being said, when Anthony Slater talked to us and said, actually, it's not that crazy, he'd be there on game 1 week.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, but Anthony Slater knows his stuff.
After the Jordan Poole series,
when he tells me that, I listen.
After Clay and Jordan Poole and whatever happened against the Lakers, I was like, it is crazy if Draymond and Jordan Poole are on this team again next year, and they got rid of Jordan Poole. And it was even crazier because they brought in Chris Paul.
But there was stuff that happened involved in there, right?
Has there not been stuff with Kuminga? I'm not saying it's
not to that level, though, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's the toxicity.
As bad as it was, Jordan Poole didn't get DNP'd for multiple games in a row.
But that being said, the toxicity between Steve Kerr, if that's the word you want to use.
Jonathan Kuminga sat down more than Draymond did after the punch.
Okay, there's not the level between toxicity between Jordan Poole and Draymond Green is not the same as Kuminga and Kerr.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that clearly there's a Kuminga issue with whatever it is, coach, players. Like, we can't ignore it. Like, come on. The guy went from being the second leading scorer and second best player on the floor to literal DMPs for not just a game or two, like weeks on end.
No, I understand that. That being said, for me, I do think it would still be crazy to see how it all went down. Like, you trade Jonathan Kuminga after all this. Maybe crazy is not the right word. We'd have conversations about the entire process.
I would be shocked if he's a Warrior.
You'd be shocked if he's a Warrior.
Yes.
Wow. Really?
Have we not been paying attention?
No, I've been paying attention.
This is like your wife that's telling you, like, I want to leave you. And it's like, I'm shocked you're serving me with divorce papers.
I guess it's one of those things where until it happens, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. The proof is in the pudding, right? It goes back to, well, you haven't seen $1 million, Joe Everett. How do you know it's real? It's like, well, okay, well, sure.
Season on the line. Yes. He proved he could play in that series, and they still didn't start him.
Well,
they still didn't play 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, proved that he could play on the floor and play his own game, not the Warriors' offense that they clearly
They
did.
had no offense.
Well,
I watched them.
I know.
You watched them.
And he was a part of it.
We all watched them.
Great.
They were done.
He had great individual stat and individual performances, and the team didn't win. That's just baked into the equation right there. And by the way, Sham's saying, again, we're reacting to the Shams Charania sound, that he's saying this could be the craziest offseason ever. What would be a crazy move for you? Dub Nation?
Standing pat.
You know what? That's acceptable.
That would be nuts.
Would that be crazy for the Warriors to not do anything? That would be insane to you?
Yes.
Okay, like
you only have 2 more years of Steph. The way they need to operate is we've got 2 more years of Steph. So if that's the case, I'm not saying you can't roll back with Jimmy and Draymond Green. You can. Everything should be on the table. And if they rolled back with the exact same team they have right now, essentially, and they don't move Kuminga and they don't move anyone else, and it's pretty much the same team, yeah, I would be I think that would be kind of insane. It's not good enough.
See, I don't think they're going to trade Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green. Just given all the comments made after the season was over, it sounds like they're all in on that trio of Steph, Jimmy, Draymond. And I do think, and I agree with you, having watched these playoffs in the future, obviously, it's always the future is in the kids are our future. I believe the children are our future, right? That's how it always is in sports. It's the youth movement. It always is going to be that. The era of clinging to these old franchises and these old, the LeBrons, the Stephs, trying to make the old super teams. I don't think that's the move anymore. So while I agree with you that keeping those three as your trio, if that's not the best thing, I would still be shocked if they moved any of those guys. I would be shocked. And Steph, absolutely, that's just not happening.
That's not happening.
But Draymond Green is an interesting name. Like, if I was to tell you that they kept Jimmy and Steph, but Draymond wasn't a Golden State Warrior, would you be? Yeah,
that would be shocking.
That'd be crazy for you.
Yeah, it would be. Until you want to talk about like, I'll believe it when I see it. That's me with Draymond not being on the Warriors.
Like if they kept Kuminga and not Draymond.
I mean, that would be crazy.
That would be nuts, right?
Be crazy.
But like
Joe, you're looking at these playoffs, right? And you answer to me, okay? You tell me if this is accurate or not. Let's just pick the Pacers as an example. Who's guarding Halliburton on the Warriors currently? Okay. Who's guarding Pascal Siakam?
Draymond.
How'd that go with Julius Randle?
Not great. And Draymond told us that.
How did it go in 2019 when Pascal went up against him?
Not great. Draymond told us that too.
Okay. Right now, let's go to the other side. OKC. All right. Who's guarding SGA?
Probably Jimmy.
I'm not even saying that you're slowing these guys down. I'm saying literally who's guarding him. Jimmy is not guarding SGA.
He can't.
He's not. Did he guard Ant-Man?
He should have.
But Moody maybe.
I'm asking, did he?
No, at times.
So he's not going to guard Ant-Man, but all of a sudden now he's going to guard SGA.
I mean, I would like to say Kuminga gets his opportunity, but he's not starting. Like, no.
This is where I'm going. This is where I'm going back. This is process of elimination.
Pods can't guard him.
They're not good enough. Okay. They have to do something this offseason dramatic. If they think that they have a chance to win a title and somebody out there is available who can immediately solve one of those two woes, until otherwise, it's not good enough. And I'm not trying to be negative or Deborah Downey. I'm being fair and realistic, and I'm assessing the reality of the landscape.
We can also accept that, like, listen, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth here, saying that, like, hey, like this current trio of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond might not be good enough to win you in the West. That there's no shame in that. The West is just really freaking good.
No, it might not. And that is a realistic, and that's kind of why I am more open than others to moving Jimmy Butler.
I do think we're the era's over now. The era is done in basketball where we could just slot one team in the finals.
I agree.
Year. I don't think we're getting back to that anymore.
OKC is learning that the hard way right now.
Yes.
That they have had to fight tooth and claw their way through the series. Again, SGA is hunched over with as close to maximum rest as one could have at this point in the season, given their schedule and the way that they've worked it. And he was hunched over, completely out of energy at the end of that game. What I'm saying is like this Kuminga mythical trade that everyone wants to make. Let's say they get themselves Cam Johnson. Now, instantly they become a better shooting team, right? I don't argue. Is he guarding any of those guys I'm talking about?
Well, he plays good defense, though, does he not? He's a good switch guy.
Is he a guy you're throwing on SGA on
At
Luka?
times, yes. At times. But this is all about switching now, Joe. Like, they're gone are the days where it's going to be me. Hey, I'm locking up this guy. This is me. Like, that Kobe Mama mentality, it's lost now. Like, this whole game is about switching and switching and switching.
The two teams that are in the Western Conference Finals right now have specific multiple pieces that hound you on the perimeter.
I know.
And can knock down shots.
Well, I know. That's why the Caruso acquisition was just, we talked about it at the time. It was just so great.
He locked up Jokic for crying out loud at the end of that series.
He's had so many good defensive possessions against Ant-Man. Hell, if he has to get switched up on Randall, he's long enough and big enough against some of the others. Hell, talking about Curry stoppers, he was a guy that had success on Curry at times guarding him. So yeah, that was a huge move for them.
I just don't think this team is a one Kuminga trade away from being right back in the Western. I think they need to do a variety of moves.
I do think if they somehow got Cam Johnson and you just lost Kuminga for it, maybe a pick. I don't know how the picks are going to get involved. I think a lot of Warriors fans are calling saying that was the missing link and we'll be fine. I do think that. I think that is good enough of an offseason for some Warriors fans if you're able to switch JK for Cam Johnson.
I think it might be an upgrade for their offense and it might be an upgrade for certain things, but I keep coming back to, guys, we have no center that guards, okay? And we, as great as Draymond is as a defender, and we have no perimeter defense right now. We just don't.